Golf 0 Sierra Bravo Whiskey Pedestrian Mobile.
Oh, Sierra Mobile?
Yes, Golf 0 Sierra Bravo Whiskey Pedestrian Mobile, Walking Mobile, QSL.
Bravo 0 Sierra Bravo Whiskey Pedestrian Mobile, is that it?
QSL. That's correct. That is correct, old man. The name is Tom, Tango Oscar Mike, and at the moment I'm at the side of a river, a saltwater river, about 100 kilometres or 100 miles northeast of London. Microphone back to you. I think it's November 2, Italy, Golf 0 Sierra Bravo Whiskey Pedestrian Mobile.
Okay, very good, Tom. Well, you're doing a good job. That's one thing. I've never been on mobile. I've never been pedestrian mobile. I've been portable, so N2II, Fred in New Jersey, 7-3.
Okay then, fine there, Fred. Oh, I didn't say I'm actually QRP, 10 watts to Elicraft KX3.
Hello again, I'm Tom Robinson. I hope you found the title video interesting. If you are interested in how and why I obtain QSOs like that, then please continue watching. Over the next half hour or so, I hope to explain how the saltwater amplifier can assist with working DX when operating QRP. I should say now, of course, that it's not an amplifier at all. What you're getting is an effect which helps operate DX and QRP when you're operating over saltwater. Everybody calls it saltwater amplifier, so we'll carry on calling it that, but it's certainly not an amplifier. Now, I mostly operate as portable or pedestrian mobile, usually QRP, and I use a number of different rigs and antennas, but I don't intend to list them or describe them here. There's lots of other places where you can see where that's been done, so we just stick to the saltwater amplifier on this particular session. Now, the usefulness of the saltwater amplifier is wholly dependent on the type of antenna being used. The antennas I use are typically various old military whip antennas, which are used vertically or occasionally as a dipole, end-fed vertical half waves, and magnetic loops. The magnetic loops and the half wave dipole, they can get a bit heavy for operating with as a pedestrian mobile station. Again, I won't be detailing these in this talk. Again, lots of information elsewhere. But you will be seeing some of these rigs and antennas in various combinations as this chat continues. Here then are the topics to be covered during this talk. Okay, so the topics to be discussed in the talk are, first of all, what is the saltwater effect, or the amplifier effect of the saltwater? Then go on to say, why does it work? How can, in conjunction with geographical and geomorphological knowledge, be used to improve the chances of good DX? And finally, discuss the reasons why it won't work when we mistakenly think it should. Throughout the talk, I'll be illustrating things with diagrams, photos and videos. The first of the topics to be covered is an examination of the seawater amplifier effect and how it occurs. To do this, we need to look at some polar diagrams which I produced some years ago using Roy Llewellyn's EasyNet program. Two antennas were analysed, a pedestrian mobile doublet and a backpack vertical. These are shown in the following photos. Well, this is a photograph of the two antennas which I made the models of, the computer models. The first one is a pedestrian mobile doublet, and you can see it goes from here, that's the actual transmitting part. This is the a painter's pole to hold it up, and this is 300 ohm ribbon wire feed back to the rig down here. The second antenna is an ex-army vertical whip. It's about probably, as it's set up there, probably about 13 feet long. And here it is, of course, that's the whip you can see there. And you note that the doublet is made of 2 whips actually, one here, one there, and joined at the centre by the 300 ohm ribbon. This first easy neck diagram shows the, well, it's a comparison of pedestrian mobile antennas, which I did many years ago, of a vertical and of the doublet that you saw the photographs of. And it's quite clear. The modelling was done at on 17 metres, and you can see quite clearly the doublet over average ground, is a low height doublet, remember, easily outperforms the vertical, both in terms of maximum thing and the well, it's just better, isn't it, there? So no real problem. Over average ground, it seems to me that the doublet would be the antenna to use. A lot more difficult to carry around, of course, compared to the vertical fastened to one's backpack with a quarter wave counterpoise, of course. The previous easy neck plot suggested that the doublet would be the way to go. So I then wanted to see how the doublet performed over salt marsh. So I modelled it again, but instead of using average ground, I used salt water effectively, because the salt marsh is basically, well, salt water is just underneath your feet. And this is the result. You can see that the doublet does actually improve, and just by a bit of extra gain that it gets from the reflection, I suppose, from the salt water and then the ground. But it's not a dramatic improvement. I then modelled the vertical antenna over salt marsh or salt water, and here I've superimposed the results of that modelling over the doublet modelling, and you can see the difference here. The vertical has a tremendous difference in compared to over ordinary ground, and you see that the takeoff angle for its maximum output there is very, very low. It's about just over 6 degrees, I think it is, and well, the doublet is straight up. So clearly the a vertical is much better than a horizontal antenna if you want to get fewer bounces off the ionosphere and improve propagation and a relatively much stronger signal at DX locations because of this low angle of takeoff. Now I've noticed when operating with magnetic loops, they also enjoy the benefits of the saltwater amplifier effect. Discussion on the mag loops I/O group seems to bear this out also, and somebody's done some computer modelling there which actually shows that this is the case. They do enjoy the lower takeoff angle when operating very, very close to saltwater. I very rarely operate from home, and most of my operating is with manpack verticals, end-fed half waves and magnetic loops, either as a pedestrian mobile or more frequently these days as a portable operation. Coming now to the topic of how I use the saltwater amplifier effect to help me with QRP DXing. Firstly, it's necessary to be close to seawater. So let's have a look at my location. Well, this is a general topographical map of the United Kingdom, or British Isles to be politically correct. My area, the area where I live, is this little area outlined in red there, and you can see from here that I've got salt water over here in this direction a bit, but across here nothing at all, no large amounts anyway, and you can see the ground rises. This is Wales, and it's quite high there, the Pennine Hills, and not really mountains here, and the Lake District mountains there, and Scotland up here. So you'd expect directions in this way are not too good, but in actual fact that isn't the case, as we'll see later on. But that's my general location. I'll show a bigger map of that area just now. This is actually Cornwall, this little bit here, and that's Land's End, last bit of England anyway there. And I occasionally operate from there. The reason I put that in there, because towards the end of the talk I will be talking about that area, and things are not quite what you might expect. From here you've got the Atlantic Ocean up here, North Atlantic, South Atlantic, straight across the Caribbean, and that way. And you know, it should be an absolutely marvellous place to operate from. But well, we see. This is the little red square on the previous map, blown up, and so you can see a bit more. And this is the area where I live, and 90% to 99% of the time the area where I operate. I have 4, maybe 5 particularly good operating sites which are chosen because of where I can actually get to easily. The most easily accessible site is number 1 here. Number 2 is more difficult, but it should have been should be a good site. Number 3 is quite reasonable, very interesting. It's very much a holiday site, so it's good fun to operate there sometimes. 4 is on the Naze. Difficult actually. It's a good site. It's the highest point for all around in this whole area, but it's difficult to get down onto the beach sometimes. Number 5 is the port of Harwich, and occasionally I work there from, but generally conditions have not been, well, radio conditions have not been too good when I've been there, so I don't use that a lot. But we'll show a little bit of a photograph of that later on. So that's my general operating area. Well, a shot of location 1, an old ruined jetty. This is Ray Creek, there's a bit of land there, and operating with an end-fed half-wave vertical. This is the little tuner for it, and the KS3 is operating with it. The danger keep off sign is not for the antenna. The power on the antenna is just to keep off the jetty, which is in disrepair. So there we are. Location 1 is actually my most successful site. This is location 2, looking due west actually, so that should be heading pretty much towards the Caribbean. A pretty desolate area this, not many, or very few people go there at all. You see I'm actually using a mag loop. This is a do-it-yourself pedestrian mobile mag loop, fastened to a fence post actually, a plastic electric wire fence post, just stuck in the ground there. And the rig here is a ICOM 703, a bit difficult to see, but it's an ICOM 703, which is perfect really for when you're using with a mag loop. Not a lot of success, from here. This is a shot of the beach at location 3, Frinton-on-Sea, taken on a fairly cold wintry day. Not a lot of holiday makers on the beach. This is a photograph of location 4, and the beach is here actually. If you operate from the cliffs, it's not a terribly good site for the reason I explain later on, but if you get down on the beach it's pretty good. A lot of erosion here. These items here are World War II pillboxes, which originally were on the top of the cliff, and erosion since then has put them out to sea. But it's good to walk along here, get some nice contacts, especially into Europe. This is looking more or less in that direction there, into Scandinavia and Northern Europe, here into Southern Europe in that direction. This is a photo of location 5. It's on the Halfpenny Pier at Harwich. This is actually my mobile or portable trolley I sometimes use for portable work. drag it along and kind of erect the mast support. And this is an MFJ extendable metal mast there, of course. And you see that I've put the earth wire and clamped it onto the metal railings, so good earth there. I don't use it an awful lot. It should theoretically give us a good takeoff towards Canada that way, and this way down here due west to the Caribbean. I've not had an awful lot of success there, but and I don't go there too often. It's about the furthest point away from for me to get to locally, and normally there's a lot of anglers on here angling. It's directly over the water, as you can see, and should be a good spot, but perhaps not too convenient. We now come to the part of the talk when I explain how the saltwater amplifier can be used to improve your chances of good DX. You'll need two maps. First, a Great Circle map based on your part of the world, and secondly, a reasonably detailed topographical map of the area in which you plan to operate. You use these maps in this way. Well, this is a Great Circle map centred on London. There's a transparency of that map, and what I do is I put the transparency on top of my operating points and see which areas are in a direction of saltwater. So here we go. If we now put this firstly on location 1, you can see that it's hard to see the saltwater here, but location 1 has a takeoff over saltwater to the west, to the northwest, to the southwest, and due south, more or less. And so basically North America, the Caribbean and South America could all be targets from location 1. Moving it to location 2 is pretty much the same situation. If we go to location 3 with it, you see there's not much chance of getting, there's no salt water to the, well, basically from north coming around to southwest. So location 3 is probably better for working, certainly for working Europe and maybe Australia and New Zealand possibly, but basically I don't get a lot of DX from that area. And then similarly you could move the Great Circle map to point 4 or to point 5 and see what the situation is there. You can see from location 5 there's a good takeoff along saltwater due west, and to a certain extent there is a bit of saltwater there going northwest, so not too bad. So that's the idea of using the Great Circle map, transparency of it, over possible transmitting sites to see what sort of takeoff direction you might have, good takeoff direction. So far I've been talking a lot about the theoretical aspects of this particular topic. Now it's time for looking at some of the results obtained. First, let's look at results from location 1. I'd like to point out now that the video used in the title for this talk was actually also taken from location 1. When discussing aspects of this location, I mentioned that it should be good for QSOs with North America, the Caribbean and South America. Well, the following extract of my log shows this to be the case. Unusually, I have also worked Australia and New Zealand from this belt. It's always been early in the morning, and clearly it must have been via long path and probably grey line DX. Here is the log. First thing to notice is that the date and time, which was the 4th of December 2015, when band conditions were a lot better than they are at the moment. And these QSOs took place over a period of just over an hour, from 3 o'clock in the afternoon to 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And this would be just when the sun had probably already set by then, and Grey Line DX was, I think, was probably available at that time. We come over here and look at the location. You see that it's in Juliet Oscar 01 Mike Sierra, which is the area of location 1, and I was using the ICOM 703 and a small homemade loop. So these were the QSOs. Obviously had one with a station in Jamaica. This is Les, 6 Yankee 5 stroke Whiskey 8 Yankee Charlie Mike. Then 3 in the United States. One was with Bud, Whiskey 3 Fox Fox, who's in Northern California. Then with Whiskey 5 SAN, who's is in Dallas, in the Dallas area. Whiskey 1AW, which is the ARRL headquarters. Then another one with a person in Crete. Victor Papa 5 stroke Whiskey 5 Charlie Whiskey in the Turks and Caicos Islands in the Caribbean, Italy, and then 2 more in the States. Yeah, so that was in an hour, quite a bit of long range and good DX there. So that's location 1. Well, this is a photograph of the small mag loop operating at the location 1. I'm not sure that this was taken at the same time as the log that I've just shown. Could well be, because it's getting close to sunset, as you can see there. Strangely, this location has actually proven quite good for DX to Australia and New Zealand, 1 QRP, but not at this time of the day. In the early morning, we're at dawn, of course, and then that must have been long path. Well, absolutely a long path, and quite interesting that you can work Australia and New Zealand. Conditions have to be good, though, of course, from the same spot that you can work in North America and the Caribbean very well. Again, this shows the big homemade mag loop mounted on a golf an adapted golf trolley, which I find very useful for stroke P work when I'm walking from place to place. Not an antenna for pedestrian mobile work. And as you can see it there, there's a bit of wind, and it catches the wind as well, so hence the need for the guy ropes there. I think this is a chest table with the KX3 on. So, coming on now to location 3. This is on the beach at Frinton-on-Sea, a local holiday resort. And normally in summer there's quite a lot of interaction with the holidaymakers as you walk along and make the QSOs. I've managed a little DX from there, but it's very easy to get a QSO with Europe and Scandinavia.
Yes, this is Golf 0 Sierra Bravo Whiskey Mobile. The name is Tom, Tango Oscar Mike, your 5 and 9 old man. Today I'm operating pedestrian mobile, transmitting whilst I am walking and operating QRP. So microphone back to you. Oscar Mike 3, Tango Whiskey Mike, Golf 0 Sierra Bravo Whiskey, pedestrian mobile, QRP.
G0 Sugar Baker Whiskey / Mobile, Tom, really 5-9, not problem, very well. My name is Vlado, like V-L-A-D-O, Vlado, over.
Hello.
Curious, what are you monitoring then?
No, I'm transmitting on it.
Oh right, transmitting what?
Radio, it's a voice.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh right.
Yeah.
Oh, that must not be on your programme then.
No, it won't be that. No, I'm just talking to other people who do the same sort of thing. Radio.
America 8, Victor America, calling on 20 meters, are listening for any call?
Golf 0 Sierra Bravo Whiskey Mobile.
Mobile station only?
Yes, this is Golf 0 Sierra Bravo Whiskey Mobile, pedestrian mobile, transmitting whilst walking. I'm walking on a beach and transmitting. Microphone back to you, man. Hotel Alpha 8, question mark, Golf 0, Sierra Bravo Whiskey, pedestrian mobile, QRP.
Okay, Roger. Golf 0 Sugar Bravo Whiskey stroke mobile. Hotel Alpha 8 Victor Alpha returning. Good afternoon and good way to you. Your signal report is 5 by 7 to 5 by 8. 5 by 7 to 5 by 8. A little bit Green Sugar Baker. You're coming. Have a program. My name is Lajos, like Lima Alpha Juliet Ontario.
Using the saltwater amplifier, I've had some memorable QSOs, but I do have some sound clips, and for the others I have some documentary evidence. An example of documentary evidence is this extract from the HF Pack Hall of Fame. Well, here's the extract. It's on 18 megahertz band, SSB, pedestrian mobile, 5 watts. Distance was 9,348 kilometers, and it was between Alex, Papa Yankee 1, Alpha Hotel Delta, and me, Tom, G0SPW. Alex, of course, is the Alex of Alex Loop fame, and it gives details. He was using 817. I was also using 817, but it also had a little amplifier fastened to it, and a 17-foot whip. Alex, of course, was using a loop. Magnetic loop, and this is in February 2004. So, my bid for fame. Sometimes, when hoping to utilise the saltwater amplifier effect, you don't really get the results you're expecting. You'll remember at the start of this talk I tabled a map showing my normal operating area, which also had a red arrow pointing to Cornwall. Well, if you remember, this is my operating area here, and here right across the base of England is Cornwall. Zooming out a bit, you can see Cornwall's relationship with the rest of Europe and the North and South Atlantic. Now, we have relatives living in that part of Cornwall. The area has a famous coastal walk along many high sea cliffs. Given the location and the takeoff directions over 270 degrees of seawater, I assumed it would be great for DX using the saltwater amplifier. Clearly I had to have a go during one of our visits there. The results were pathetic, as can be seen and heard in the following 2 video snippets. Yeah, 9 Alpha 5 Oscar, you're 5 by 9 Zardo, 5 by 9. Here I am operating mobile, but not in a vehicle, using my legs, and I am walking. I'm walking along a beach on the north coast of Cornwall, not far from St Ives. The name is Tom, Tango Oscar Mike, and you're 5 and 9 Zardo. Microphone back to you.
That's the new one, and thank you for that, Tom. You're 5'7", thank you for the 5'9". Your little QRP backpack is doing wonders. So congratulations. All the best, 7-3s, and greetings to you in Cornwall there, from 9 Alpha 5 Oscar, listening for your final.
Yeah, fine there, Zardo. Yes, yes, I'm using an LA Craft KX3, 10 watts, and I've got a military whip antenna of just over 4 meters, 4.5 meters, fastened to my backpack, and a battery in the backpack. And I drag a counterpoise, of course, a quarter wave counterpoise for several bands, but on 20 today. So thanks very much for the contact. Incidentally, I've been doing quite a walk along the north coast, the Cornish north coast coast walk along the cliffs, and been listening to you for quite a while, but only been able to work you since I got on the beach. Being very close to seawater makes a big difference. 73 Zardo, best wishes to you there in Croatia. G0SPW, pedestrian mobile, QRP, signing with 9 Alpha 5 Oscar. Cheers.
Interestingly, whilst walking back to the car park along the cliff top, I heard Uruguayan and Brazilian stations calling CQ. Well, certainly the Brazilian station was loud enough. I'm sure I could have worked him if I'd been on the beach.
Charlie X-Ray 6 Delta Zulu. This is Golf 0 Sierra Bravo Whiskey Mobile. Charlie X-Ray 6 Delta Zulu Golf 0 Sierra Bravo Whiskey Mobile for you. Coming from that direction there. Long way. That is the Atlantic, and it's straight across the North Atlantic there, then the South Atlantic, and then eventually Uruguay.
That frequency is in use.
Echo DX, Echo Delta X-Ray, Papa Yankee 5, Quebec Whiskey.
Golf 0 Sierra Bravo Whiskey Mobile. The Papa Yankee station, this is Golf 0 Sierra Bravo Whiskey Mobile.
Papa Yankee 5, Quebec Whiskey.
Papa Yankee 5 Quebec Whiskey. Golf 0 Sierra Bravo Whiskey for you. Golf 0 Sierra Bravo Whiskey.
Echo DX, Echo Delta X-Ray, Papa Yankee 5, Quebec Whiskey.
During his trip to Cornwall, I had the bright idea of trying for a QSO from the spot where Marconi made his first transatlantic wireless transmission. This site is on top of cliffs some 50 metres above sea level. Again, not much luck. Despite hearing my pal Vinand, a Victor 51 Whiskey in Namibia, quite clearly I could not work him.
Golf 0 Sierra Bravo Whiskey Portable. Golf 0 Sierra Bravo Whiskey Portable.
Victor 5-1 Whiskey, target.
Golf 0 Sierra Bravo Whiskey Portable.
Now, I've worked Winand several times, quite a number of times actually, from location 1 on the salt marsh. Normally whilst QRP pedestrian mobile and also portable. So I know I should have been able to work him from the Marconi site, judging by the volume I was hearing him. The conclusion I draw from these and other operating experiences is that height above sea level is no great help in getting the assistance of the saltwater amplifier. What is important, actually extremely important, is to be very close to salt water. I have heard one should not be one should not be further away than a quarter wavelength at the operating frequency. So yeah, that is pretty close. Interestingly, I have tried to operate on 17 meters from the stern of a ship in the fjords of Norway, so certainly over salt water. But I realise now that the operating position where I was way above a quarter wavelength at 17 meters, so I didn't get any contacts there either. So I do get some contacts. Okay, well I hope you've enjoyed this little talk and it hasn't been too long and boring for you. Cheers, 73.